Thank you very much, Chairwoman Kiggins, and thank you to everyone for allowing me to wave onto this subcommittee. This is an issue that is very near and dear to my heart. I represent a district with 5 major military installations and nearly 40,000 veterans, and I think everyone in this room shares my opinion that they are entitled to the fulfillment of the promises that we've made to them when they volunteered their service to our country. So I think we're all on the same team that way. One of the facilities that I represent is the Veterans Affairs Hospital in Loma Linda, which is in most respects an excellent facility. However, in recent years, whistleblowers have emerged to allege that there are supervisorial employees there that are creating a hostile work environment. And obviously this is something that we want to avoid because we want to attract the best and the brightest to care for our veterans. If we allow a facility to establish a reputation as somewhere that's not a good place to work, then we're not going to get the best care for our veterans there. So an administrative board was convened to investigate this. They did a very thorough job. They interviewed 36 witnesses, 57 hours of testimony, over 4,000 pages of documents. At the end of this, they recommended that the supervisorial employee in question be removed from employment at the VA. Okay, so far the system has functioned exactly as intended. However, unfortunately, nothing was done. And those whistleblowers came to my office earlier this year in understandable frustration about the fact that they had followed the rules, they had raised these concerns, a board had been convened and then made a recommendation that was not followed by local administrative staff. And when we looked into it, and Chairman Bost was great about partnering with my office, VA staff came out, interviewed these whistleblowers with me, and we were astonished to find out this is the 3rd time this supervisorial employee had been investigated. He'd been recommended for termination multiple times, and yet nothing was done. So I met with the director, and what I was told is that the VA doesn't have the legal tools and authority necessary to follow through on that recommendation. And I was a little astonished because obviously in 2017, Congress passed the VA Accountability and Whistleblower Protection Act, one of the pieces of legislation we've been discussing here in this hearing, for the express purpose of giving the VA the tools necessary to deal with situations like this. So we are attempting to close some of the loopholes that were brought up. Chairman Bost, Chairwoman Kiggins, and I have partnered to introduce H.R. 4278, a bill that would give the VA more authority in this respect. But I want to talk to you about why this situation exists and what we can do to fix it. So, Mr. Calhoun, I guess I'll start with you, or you can pass the baton if someone else is more appropriate. But what would you say? Does the VA have the tools to effectively discipline and, if necessary, terminate employees in situations like the one I described?
Thank you, Congressman Obernolte, for the question. So I don't know the full circumstances. I believe the individual you're referring to is outside of our investigative authority, so I have very limited knowledge on that. But I would say in previous testimony, I've heard OGC say that they believe they do have the tools they need to take appropriate actions in those cases. But I don't have enough information to discuss the specific matter you're referring to.
Okay. Well, if you could follow up, that would be much appreciated, because if the answer is no, you don't have the tools that you need, we want to make sure that we equip you with the tools that you need to make sure situations like this don't develop in other facilities. Mr. Geip, the whistleblowers that I spoke with are understandably frustrated with this situation, and they expressed to me something that I found even more alarming, which is kind of a hopelessness that they had brought this situation to everyone's attention and nothing was done. And because it's a supervisorial employee, when a whistleblower raises their hand and says something's wrong here, an investigation is conducted, their claim is substantiated, and yet nothing is done, they are fearful that that enhances the chance that of retaliatory action against the whistleblower. And I would share that too. If I were in their shoes, I would be afraid of that. What can be done to reassure whistleblowers like that retaliatory action will not take place if they come to OAWP with a complaint?
Thank you for that question. I would follow up a little bit on what Mr. Calhoun said. So if wrongdoing does take place, if misconduct takes place, there are definitely the tools available across the federal government, including VA, to deal with that. I do believe, my understanding is the person that you're referring to is not within our jurisdiction, but still I can give you more of an answer on your specific question. And we'd be happy to give you briefings on any of the specific cases in a private setting. But there are other things we can do to help improve the atmosphere and the culture of accountability there. And it's a coincidence that this week we actually kicked off our second climate review, which again looks at the atmosphere in a medical center to see if it's appropriate, if there's an appropriate atmosphere that people feel like they can raise allegations of wrongdoing. So that the climate review is a several step process. I believe that the survey went out this week and will go for 2 weeks, and then we're doing our site visit in early December. And what you should do is think about this a lot like the all-employee viewpoint survey. If you just get not you, but if the medical center gets results and just kind of looks at them, it doesn't help much. But the results will show where there are weak points and opportunities for improvement, and I think you can use those. The hospital can use those to make important changes, and we can also increase our training there and make sure people know all the options they have, coming to us, coming to OSC, going to OIG. But if this was the AIB that I'm thinking about, that you're talking about, that was not within our jurisdiction, it would be up to the responsible management official who was getting that to decide what discipline was appropriate.
Right. Oh, thank you. And I see I'm over time, but I want to emphasize we're all on the same team here, but we want to make sure that you have the tools necessary to set an environment where this does not happen again. So let's work together to make sure that that happens. I yield back, Madam Chair. Thank you.